Good afternoon. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Boca Raton. In a delayed broadcast. Our original broadcast was delayed by elephants. The title of my talk today is When Life Gives You Elephants. It's the revised edition of the talk that I did on September 25th in the year 2022, because I find myself wanting to clear up some misconceptions it gave to my audience and the people that watched it on Facebook even back then. I do not hate elephants. I do not dislike elephants. I did attract some elephant decorated cards and bookmarks from the talk, and this was very nice, but did not show any connection to my talk. There's also a children's book about Barbar, the Elephant King, who had a wife called Queen Celeste. I hold no claim to this royal lineage. Why do I say elephants? Because I don't want to put a label on whatever situation, problem, personage that you are labeling a problem in your life. I don't want to give it a label because that makes it more real, and we want to recognize that it is only our attitude that is giving it definition. Because metaphysically, the elephant symbolizes strength, wisdom, and longevity, often associated with good luck and prosperity. It represents stability, loyalty, and family, while its association with deities in Hinduism connects it to overcoming obstacles and spiritual growth. The elephant is also seen as a spiritual guide, offering lessons in patience, compassion, and inner peace. So symbolically, elephants are a good thing. My previous talk and this one are using the elephant to represent a condition or obstacle that is blocking our consciousness to a fuller expression of abundance in all aspects of living. Let us go back to our teaching that when we ask the infinite spirit for something, the answer is always yes. I am using a scenario where we do not have to say yes when the gift being offered is not something we could handle. Here's another example. If someone bought a fully inflated parade float to your door and pushed it inside, would you accept it or deflate it or ask that it be removed and taken away? Put it simply by saying, no, thank you. You can try it out by getting a dozen helium balloons and transporting them in a subcompact car. If you get them all home, try putting them in a half bathroom. Then you can give them out to people whenever people come to your door. We don't want to block our good, and so we accept things that we do not want or need, and then re-gift them to a more suitable person or place that would be happy to receive them. This is keeping the gift in the flow of abundance. Now back to the idea of elephants. Why would someone want to give away an elephant? Or why would they want it to be a surprise? Obviously, a lot of preparation needs to be done to feed and care for an elephant. And the rules of your homeowners association probably have a limit on pet size. I checked, and there is a place that provides sanctuary for elephants in Florida, but they only accept visits if you have an appointment. Check it out, Google it. It's Mayaka Elephant Ranch. Somewhat, the address for donations has a Bradenton address. In the cartoon I have on my Facebook page is an elephant filling up a living room with the caption, "Just pretend you don't see me." I have nicknamed the elephant Cleopatra because it is the queen of denial. Another example of using denial to seemingly try to remove a problem is the following, usually by a person who is new to New Thought. I am not here. It is not now. This is not happening to me. Okay, you do not have an elephant in your home, so you don't have to pretend that you cannot see it, and nobody will need to talk about it. But if you do have a great weight on your shoulders and you do not know how to handle it, so I give this talk to offer you a possible solution to take the weight away. While wandering around on the internet, I found a t-shirt with a formal logic error that read, I am awesome. Elephants are awesome. Therefore, I am an elephant. The illogical reasoning leads to an interesting parallel that is in Living the Science of Mind, pages 35 and 36. I'm going to say this again because after I tell you about it, you'll want to go back and check and see that I didn't make this up. That's pages 305 through 306, because I'm going to transpose a lot of it. Ernest Holmes gives an example of a client who calls upon a practitioner because the client believes he is an elephant. It does remind me of the man who went to the psychiatrist for help because his wife had thought for years that she was a chicken. The doctor asked, "Why did you wait so long to ask for help?" The reply was, "We really needed the eggs." So if you have a situation and it's giving you some benefits, maybe you don't want to get rid of it so quickly. But this client came to the practitioner and said, "I am an elephant." The practitioner would not believe the client was an elephant. The practitioner would not believe the client ever began to be an elephant or ever developed into an elephant. The practitioner would not believe that there was any law compelling the client to be an elephant. "It is inherited," said the client. The practitioner must handle the wrong belief in the patient's mind. The practitioner does spiritual mind treatment to correct the thought, the illusion that the client is an elephant. If the client were to tell the practitioner that the reason for the belief is in being an elephant was because the client was born on the 2nd day of July and that the stars control the whole thing, it is a matter of fate. The practitioner would know that the only sign is the sign of God or the sign of perfection. The practitioner would deliberately remove the hallucination. The practitioner would not try to remove the influence of the planet because they have no influence. If on reading the history of humanity, the client should have discovered that many millions of people have believed that at certain times in their life they must become elephants because of the time of year that they were born into this world, the practitioner would say to himself, it does not matter how many people believe that this client is an elephant, or that because the client was born under a certain sign, the client must become an elephant. I know this is a lie. The client is not an elephant, never was, or never will be. You want to say that together? I am not an elephant. I never was and never will be. Or not. Okay, let us carry the proposition into a more subtle field of argument and suppose that millions of people were to say, we can prove to you that things work mathematically. All people born under certain signs have the inclination to become elephant. The practitioner says, I realize that whatever the whole race holds to be true about themselves appears to be true, because thought works with creative power and with mathematical precision. But even so, I know that the whole thing is an illusion, that even though thought does work with mathematical precision and with creative power, and even though countless of millions of people have acted as though they were elephants and believe they were, they never have been elephants at any time. This line of argument may be used to yield any belief in horoscopes, inherited tendencies, prenatal influence, or race suggestion. Clients have been known to argue and debate that their problem is so big and unmanageable that even an infinite, all-knowing, and all-powerful spirit could not remove it from their consciousness. When you are calling one of our ministers for treatment, myself, Reverend Jill, Dr. Barbara, tell them that you have an elephant and we will know how to treat for a situation for a divine demonstration. The expression elephant in the room is a metaphorical idiom in English for an important or enormous topic, question, or controversial issue that is obvious and that everyone knows about, but no one mentions or wants to discuss because it makes at least some of them uncomfortable and is personally, socially, or politically embarrassing, controversial, inflammatory, or dangerous. The metaphorical elephant represents an obvious problem or difficult situations that people do not want to talk about it. There is a poem which I will read to you by Terry Kettering, a former governor of New York State. It is entitled, "The Elephant in the Room." There is an elephant in the room. It is large and squatting, so it is hard to get around it. Yet we squeeze by with "how are you?" and "I'm fine," and 1,000 other forms of trivial chatter. We talk about everything else except the elephant in the room. We all know it's there. We are all thinking about the elephant as we talk. It is constantly on our minds, for you see, it is a very big elephant. But we do not talk about the elephant in the room. Oh, please, somebody say my child's name. Oh, please, say it again. Oh, please, let's talk about the elephant in the room. For if we talk about their death, perhaps we can talk about their life. Can I say their name and not have you look away? For if I cannot, you are leaving me alone in a room with an elephant. If you are in a room and there appears to be a symbolic or metaphorical elephant, there are many things you can do. Acknowledge the elephant in the room. Assuming the elephant does exist, give it a name. Converse with the person close by and introduce it. Verify that it's real. Perceptions aren't necessarily reality. Consider the timing. Get to the heart of the matter. Be mindful of emotions. Make room for communications. And above all, call a practitioner. Keep one on speed dial. Treatment is the clearing of thought of negation, of doubt and fear, and causing it to perceive the ever-presence of God. This is a quote from Ernest Holmes. He states, effective treatment convinces the mind that our life is some part of God, and that spirit is incarnated in us, accompanied by an unqualified faith in a law that we now understand works for us as we work with it. I came across a book by one of the pioneers in regard to a different methods of treatment, Dr. Frederick Bales. He says, the science of mind philosophy is not a few psychological tricks. It is a life to be lived. He says treatment starts with the fundamental truth that the person for whom we are treating is a perfect idea in the mind of God. And our whole procedure during a treatment is intended to remove from our mind any idea or picture of imperfection or sickness. And in this particular book, he talked about the 7 R's of treatment. The first R, relaxation. We assume a position that ensures physical relaxation and a quiet mind. Then recognition. We recognize that we are not speaking into a void. We are not at the Wailing Wall, talking to a wall. We are surrounded by the creative mind of the universe, which receives our thought embodied in our words and sets to work to carry it out into material form. The relationship. We constantly unify with the creative mind, knowing that we ourselves, the person treated for, and this mind are all one. There can never be any separation between them. Reasoning. To arrive at this inner certainty, we have to dissolve all doubts. we go through a process of reasoning to arrive at this certainty. Realization. Once we have arrived at the point where we realize the inner perfection of the one being treated for, we shall know it, because we have arrived at the place of quiet, calm assurance. Then we release. We are not responsible for the outcome of the treatment. Our only responsibility is to build a clear picture in our mind of the perfection of ourselves and the one being treated for, and to remove all doubts about that perfection. We now release this picture to the creative mind. And the final step, rejoice. We give thanks for the success of our treatment, not to influence how mind works, but to confirm our belief that the entire situation is resolved in exactly the right and ideal way. And his refusal method, which is what I just went over, covers my topic of when life gives you elephants. And here's his story. A man came into the office with an odd-looking rash that had broken out all over his body. He said that even after several months of medication, diet, etc., dermatologists had been unable to help him, and he added, "This thing has got me down. I'm really afraid. I try to keep my thought right, but even in my most hopeful moments, it persists." My answer was, suppose a man came to your door right now with an elephant. Suppose he told you he was disbanding his circus and had decided to give you this tremendous beast. You reply that you do not want the animal, but he insists that he is leaving it with you just the same. Then you tell the man that you have not solicited this doubtful gift, nor have you any place to house it. And if it persists in the matter, you have the right to do the final thing and say, "I refuse to accept or take delivery of this thing you offer." Write that down. I refuse to accept or take delivery of this thing. You may need it in the future. Whereupon you may close the door in his face, and under the law he is compelled to take away the unwelcomed beast. Precisely the same thing can be done with an unwanted condition. While it is true that we treat the thought rather than the condition, there are times when we must be very positive in regard to the condition, and we can be sure that in so doing, we are backed up by mental law. And here's his example of a treatment. We may say this: I did not consciously ask for this condition, nor will I accept it. It is not part of me. No place in my body was provided to house such a thing. Therefore, I refuse it. I shut the door of my consciousness in its face, for I know that to them that receive infinite wisdom, they are given power to become in their bodies also the perfection of infinite spirit. The man caught the idea. Within 24 hours, his trouble had disappeared, for having freed himself of the elephantine fear of the condition, the power had an opportunity to do its work, and the healing was accomplished. So you can learn to refuse delivery of anything you do not want to be a part of your life. Say it with me. I do not want an elephant. Take it away from me. It is not part of my consciousness. So ends the lesson.